3 years ago, I was working 16-hour days, drowning in debt, and questioning every life choice I'd ever made. Then I discovered something about quantum consciousness that changed everything. Within 8 months, I hadn't just escaped the rat race. I'd created a reality where money, opportunities, and perfect circumstances flowed to me effortlessly. Now I wake up when I want, work only on projects that excite me, and watch my bank account grow while I sleep. And the establishment? They absolutely hate me for sharing this. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to live in a completely different reality, where everything just works out for them, where money flows easily, where they never seem stressed about bills or deadlines, what you're about to discover will change everything you believe about work, success, and the nature of reality itself. Type "I'm ready for quantum shift" if you want to understand why your current approach to success has been working against you at the neural level. But before we go any further, I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. What I'm about to share with you isn't just another productivity hack or mindset shift. This is about accessing a quantum state of consciousness that literally shifts you into a parallel version of your life. And the reason the establishment hates people like me sharing this information? Because once you understand how to access this state, you stop being a predictable consumer in their system. You stop trading your life energy for money. You stop being controllable. Here's what happened to me 3 years ago that changed everything. I was burnt out, working as a consultant, jumping from project to project, always stressed about the next paycheck. Sound familiar? Type "that's me" if you've ever felt trapped in the work for money cycle. I was researching neuroscience for a client project when I stumbled across something that made my blood run cold. Research from the University of California, showing that human consciousness can exist in multiple probability states simultaneously. Not metaphysics, not theory, measurable science. But here's what shocked me. The research showed that 99.7% of humans remain locked into just one probability state their entire lives. They experience only one version of reality, usually the version where they have to work hard for everything they get. But there are people, and maybe you've noticed them, who seem to exist in a completely different probability state, where opportunities appear out of nowhere, where money shows up when they need it, where they work less, but achieve more. Type "I've noticed these people" if you've ever wondered why some people seem to live by different rules than everyone else. I became obsessed with this research. What if the reason some people never have to struggle for success is because they've unconsciously shifted into a quantum state where struggle simply doesn't exist in their version of reality? That's when I met Sarah. Sarah was a single mother of 2 who had been working 3 jobs to make ends meet. Exhausted, overwhelmed, constantly worried about money. But something happened to her during a meditation retreat that changed everything. She described it as a moment where she felt herself shift, like she had stepped sideways into a different version of her life. Within 6 months, her landlord offered to sell her the house she was renting at below market value. A business idea she'd been thinking about for years suddenly attracted investors without her even looking. Her ex-husband, who hadn't paid child support in 2 years, suddenly started sending money regularly. Type "I want that shift" if Sarah's story resonates with something you've always felt was possible. Sarah didn't become successful through hard work or positive thinking. She had shifted into what I now call the effortless reality state, a quantum frequency where reality organizes itself around your well-being instead of your struggle. But here's where it gets interesting. When I started researching this phenomenon, I discovered something that the traditional success industry doesn't want you to know. Your brain is designed to access multiple reality states, but most people have been conditioned to lock themselves into what I call the effort reality, the frequency where everything requires hard work, where money is scarce, where you have to fight for every opportunity. The research from Dr. Stuart Hameroff at the University of Arizona shows that consciousness operates through quantum processes in the microtubules of your neurons. Your brain is literally a quantum computer capable of accessing infinite probability states. But here's the crucial part that changes everything. Most people use their brain to reinforce their current reality instead of shifting into a better one. Type "I'm stuck in effort reality" if you've been working harder and harder but not seeing proportional results. Let me tell you about Michael, a graphic designer who discovered this quantum state completely by accident. Michael had been freelancing for 8 years, constantly hustling for clients, working weekends, never feeling financially secure. One night, exhausted and overwhelmed, he had what he describes as a surrender moment, where he stopped trying to force success and just let go. That's when something extraordinary happened. Within 2 weeks, 3 different clients reached out to him with projects that were exactly what he wanted to work on. Not just any clients. Dream clients who paid premium rates and treated him with respect. But it didn't stop there. Over the next 6 months, opportunities kept appearing. A publishing company offered him a book deal. An online course he'd created years ago suddenly started selling without any marketing. His old apartment building got bought by developers who offered him $20,000 to move out early. Michael hadn't changed his skills or his marketing strategy. He had shifted into a different quantum reality state, one where abundance was his natural condition instead of something he had to earn. Type, I want Michael's reality, if you're tired of hustling for scraps when abundance should be flowing naturally. Here's what I realized through studying cases like Michael's. There are 2 fundamentally different neural networks operating in your brain. The first is what I call the effort network. This network is constantly scanning for problems to solve, gaps to fill, work to do. It keeps you locked in a reality where value comes through struggle and where rest feels like laziness. The second network, which most people never learn to activate, is the flow network. This network operates on quantum principles. It doesn't seek problems to solve. It aligns with solutions that already exist in the field of infinite possibilities. Dr. Judson Brewer's research at Yale shows that when people shift from the effort network to the flow network, their brain frequency changes from beta waves, associated with stress and analysis, to gamma waves, associated with insight and quantum coherence. But here's what's revolutionary about this research. People operating in gamma coherence don't just think differently. They exist in a different reality field where different laws seem to apply. Type, I want flow network, if you're ready to understand why effort has been working against you. Let me share what happened when I first accessed this state myself. I was 3 months behind on rent, my consulting business was failing, and I was seriously considering going back to a corporate job I hated. I was desperate enough to try anything. Using the research I'd been studying, I developed what I now call the Quantum Reality Shift Protocol. 4 specific steps that shift your neural frequency from the effort reality to the flow reality. I won't lie to you, the first time I did this protocol, nothing seemed to happen. But I committed to practicing it every morning for 30 days. On day 12, something shifted. I can't describe it except to say that the world felt different. Colors seemed brighter. People seemed friendlier. Opportunities seemed to appear everywhere. Within 2 weeks, a former colleague called me out of the blue with a consulting project that paid more than I'd made in the previous 3 months. Not just any project, exactly the kind of work I'd been dreaming of doing. But that was just the beginning. Over the next 6 months, I received 3 more offers without applying anywhere. A real estate investment opportunity appeared that required no money down but generated passive income. A book publisher reached out after seeing an article I'd written years earlier. Type, reality is shifting, if you can feel something changing as you listen to this. The most shocking part? I was working maybe 20 hours a week, but generating more income than I ever had working 60-hour weeks. It was as if I had stepped into a parallel version of my life where things just worked out. But here's where the story gets interesting. The more successful I became through this quantum approach, the more resistance I encountered from the traditional success industry. Motivational speakers started dismissing my methods as too easy or unrealistic. Business coaches claimed I was giving people false hope. Even some of my old colleagues accused me of being irresponsible for teaching people they didn't have to work hard for success. That's when I realized what was really happening. The entire structure of our economy depends on people believing they have to trade their life energy for money. If everyone knew how to access the flow reality, the current system would collapse. Type, they want us struggling. If you're starting to see how the system benefits from keeping people locked in effort reality, Let me tell you about Jennifer, a marketing manager who discovered this truth the hard way. Jennifer had been working for the same company for 7 years, consistently passed over for promotions despite excellent performance. She was trapped in what she called golden handcuffs, making enough money to survive but not enough to feel free. After learning the quantum shift protocol, something extraordinary happened. Instead of trying harder at work, she began operating from what I call ownership consciousness, the neural state where you recognize yourself as the creator of your experience rather than the victim of circumstances. Within 3 months, her entire department was restructured and she was offered a director position with a 40% salary increase. But here's the interesting part. She turned it down, not because she didn't want more money, but because she had shifted into a reality where opportunities were abundant. She knew something better was coming. 2 weeks later, a competitor company offered her a vice president role with double her current salary, equity in the company, and the ability to work remotely. She accepted. But the most shocking part of Jennifer's story isn't her promotion. It's what happened when she tried to share her methods with her former colleagues. They dismissed her success as luck or timing. They couldn't accept that she had accessed a different reality frequency where opportunities flow naturally. Some even became hostile, suggesting she was being irresponsible by claiming success could be effortless. Type, I see the resistance. If you've noticed how people react when you suggest there might be an easier way, here's what I learned from Jennifer's experience and dozens of others like it. Most people are so invested in the effort reality that they'll attack anyone who suggests a different way as possible. But the science is clear. Your brain operates as a quantum field processor. Every thought, every belief, every expectation you hold is literally collapsing probability waves into the reality you experience. Dr. Dean Radin's research at the Institute of Noetic Sciences shows that consciousness can influence random number generators, affect plant growth, and even alter the behavior of photons. Your awareness is not passive. It's actively creating your experience of reality. But here's the part that changes everything. Most people use this creative power unconsciously, constantly collapsing possibilities that match their fears, limitations, and learned patterns of struggle. The quantum shift protocol teaches you to use this power consciously, to collapse probability waves that match your highest vision rather than your deepest fears. Type, I'm ready to learn, if you want to understand how to consciously direct your quantum creative power. Let me break down the quantum reality shift protocol for you. 4 steps that have transformed hundreds of lives, including my own. Step 1. Neural frequency reset. Your brain has been conditioned to operate in effort frequency, constantly scanning for problems, gaps, and work to do. This frequency literally locks you into a reality where struggle is necessary. The first step is learning to shift your neural frequency from beta waves, associated with analysis and stress, to gamma waves, associated with quantum coherence and insight. This isn't meditation as most people understand it. This is precision neuroscience. Using specific breathing patterns, you can entrain your brainwaves into gamma coherence within minutes. Dr. Richard Davidson's research at the University of Wisconsin shows that gamma wave activity increases neuroplasticity by 300% and enhances your brain's ability to form new neural pathways. But here's what's revolutionary. In gamma coherence, your brain stops operating like a problem-solving machine and starts functioning like a possibility detection system. Type gamma coherence. If you want to experience what it feels like when your brain shifts from problem-focused to possibility-focused, the specific breathing pattern is 4 counts in, hold for 7 counts, exhale for 8 counts, repeated for 12 minutes while maintaining soft focus on the space between your thoughts. But the breathing is just the beginning. While your brain is in gamma coherence, you're going to do something that most people have never tried. Step 2. Quantum field connection. In gamma coherence, your consciousness becomes sensitive to what physicists call the quantum field, the underlying energy matrix from which all possibilities emerge. Most people experience reality as solid and fixed, but quantum physics reveals that reality is actually fluid, responsive to consciousness, and contains infinite potential outcomes. The second step teaches you to sense this field directly, not as a concept, but as a felt experience of infinite possibility surrounding you at all times. Dr. Amit Goswami's research shows that consciousness collapses quantum possibilities into specific experiences. You're not just observing reality, you're actively selecting which version of reality becomes manifest. Here's the technique. While in gamma coherence, expand your awareness beyond your physical body. Sense the space around you as alive with potential. Feel yourself floating in an ocean of possibilities, all equally real, all accessible. This isn't visualization. This is quantum sensing. You're training your consciousness to perceive the field of infinite potential that quantum physics tells us underlies all of reality. Type "I feel the field" if you're starting to sense the vast potential that surrounds you in every moment. Most people spend their entire lives focused on current circumstances, completely unaware that they're surrounded by infinite alternative versions of their experience. The quantum field connection teaches you to sense these alternatives directly. Step 3. Effortless reality frequency. This is where the magic happens. While connected to the quantum field, you're going to tune into what I call the effortless reality frequency. This isn't positive thinking or visualization. This is quantum frequency matching. You're aligning your neural frequency with the version of reality where your desires flow naturally. Remember Michael, the graphic designer? He didn't visualize success. He tuned into the frequency where success was his natural state. Jennifer didn't affirm her way to a promotion. She aligned with the reality where opportunities sought her out. The technique is simple, but profound. While sensing the quantum field, locate the frequency where your desired outcomes already exist as accomplished facts. Not future goals, but present realities in an alternative quantum state. Dr. Hugh Everett's Many Worlds theory suggests that all possible versions of your life exist simultaneously as parallel realities. The effortless reality frequency teaches you to tune into the versions where struggle is unnecessary. Type effortless frequency. If you can sense that there's a version of your life where everything flows naturally, here's what happens when you successfully tune into this frequency. Your brain stops generating the neural patterns associated with struggle, effort, and limitation. Instead, it begins generating the neural patterns associated with abundance, ease, and natural flow. This isn't just mental, it's physical. Your electromagnetic field changes, affecting how people respond to you, what opportunities you notice, and even what coincidences appear in your life. Step 4. Neural pattern integration. The final step is crucial. You need to integrate this new neural pattern into your daily consciousness so that effortless abundance becomes your default state, rather than something you access occasionally. Most people return from peak experiences to their old patterns because they haven't integrated the new neural pathway. The integration phase teaches your brain that this effortless frequency is safe, sustainable, and available at all times. This involves specific practices throughout your day that reinforce the new neural pattern. Not affirmations or positive thinking, but quantum consciousness practices that keep you aligned with the effortless reality frequency. Type neural integration. If you understand that lasting change requires rewiring your brain's default patterns, let me tell you about Thomas, a software developer who mastered this integration process. Thomas had been struggling with his startup for 3 years, working 18-hour days, burning through savings, constantly stressed about failure. He was about to shut down when he learned the quantum shift protocol. The first 3 steps came naturally to him. He was able to access gamma coherence, connect with the quantum field, and tune into the effortless frequency. But initially, he could only maintain this state for minutes at a time. The integration practices changed everything. Simple techniques he could use throughout his workday that kept him aligned with the effortless reality frequency. Within 2 months, everything shifted. A major tech company approached him about acquiring his technology, not because he'd been marketing to them, but because they had been searching for exactly what he had developed. The acquisition happened within 60 days. Thomas went from near bankruptcy to complete financial freedom without changing his product, his marketing, or his business strategy. He had shifted into a reality frequency where success was inevitable. Type Success is inevitable. If you're starting to understand that abundance is your natural state when you align with the right frequency. But here's what shocked Thomas the most. When he tried to explain his transformation to other entrepreneurs, they couldn't accept it. They insisted he must have been lucky, or that he wasn't telling them the whole story. They couldn't comprehend that success could be effortless because their entire identity was built around struggle and effort. Admitting that Thomas had found an easier way would mean admitting they had been suffering unnecessarily. This is why the establishment hates people like me sharing this information. Not because it doesn't work, but because it works too well. Once you understand how to access the effortless reality frequency, you stop playing by the rules that keep most people trapped. Type, "I choose effortless," if you're ready to stop struggling and start flowing with the natural abundance that wants to come through you. Let me tell you about Maria, whose transformation was so dramatic that it scared her family. Maria had been working as a graphic designer for a marketing agency, constantly overwhelmed with impossible deadlines and difficult clients. She was talented but undervalued, making barely enough to cover her expenses while working nights and weekends. After learning the quantum shift protocol, something extraordinary happened. Instead of quitting her job or confronting her boss, she simply began operating from the effortless frequency during her workday. Within 3 weeks, her most difficult client specifically requested to work only with her on future projects. Her boss, who had barely noticed her before, started including her in strategic planning meetings. A competing agency reached out to offer her a position with 50% higher pay. But Maria didn't take the job offer. She had tuned into a reality frequency where even better opportunities were approaching. 2 months later, a luxury resort in Costa Rica hired her to redesign their entire brand while working remotely from anywhere in the world. Type, "remote freedom." If you can envision a version of your career where you have complete location and time freedom. Here's what happened when Maria tried to explain her transformation to her family. They accused her of being unrealistic and warned her that she was setting herself up for disappointment. Her success made them uncomfortable because it challenged their core beliefs about how reality works. They couldn't accept that she had access to frequency where opportunities flowed naturally because it meant they had been struggling unnecessarily their entire lives. This is the resistance you'll face when you begin operating from effortless frequency. People who are invested in effort reality will try to pull you back down to their level. But here's what I want you to understand. Their resistance isn't about you. It's about their own fears of discovering they've been making life harder than it needs to be. Type, "I understand the resistance," if you're prepared to maintain your effortless frequency regardless of other people's reactions. Now let me address something that might be on your mind. You might be thinking, "Marcus, this sounds too good to be true. If this is real, why isn't everyone doing it?" The answer is simple, but disturbing. Our entire economic system is built on people believing they have to struggle for success. If everyone knew how to access effortless frequency, the current power structures would collapse overnight. Think about it. What would happen to the motivational speaking industry if people knew success could be effortless? What would happen to the self-help industry if people knew they didn't need to fix themselves? What would happen to traditional employment if people knew they could create abundance without trading their life energy for money? The establishment has a vested interest in keeping people locked in effort reality. Struggling people are controllable people. People who know they can create abundance effortlessly are dangerous to systems built on scarcity and competition. Type, "The system needs us struggling." If you're starting to see how your beliefs about effort and struggle serve interests other than your own. But here's what gives me hope. The quantum research is becoming impossible to ignore. Universities like Harvard, Yale, and Stanford are conducting studies that prove consciousness can directly influence physical reality. Dr. Enro, Stuart Hameroff's work on quantum consciousness is revolutionizing neuroscience. Dr. Dean Radin's research on psychic phenomena is showing that human awareness extends far beyond the physical brain. Dr. Amit Goswami's quantum physics research proves that consciousness creates reality, not the other way around. The scientific foundation for effortless manifestation is becoming undeniable. And as more people discover these principles, the old paradigm of struggle and effort is beginning to crumble. Type: the paradigm is shifting. If you can feel that we're living through a fundamental transformation in how humans understand reality. Let me tell you about Robert, whose story shows what's possible when you fully embody effortless frequency. Robert was a middle manager at a telecommunications company, feeling invisible and unappreciated despite 15 years of loyal service. He had given up on his dreams of writing music and resigned himself to a life of quiet mediocrity. After mastering the quantum shift protocol, everything changed, but not in the way you might expect. Robert didn't quit his job or start a music career. Instead, he began bringing effortless frequency into his current role. He stopped trying to prove himself and started operating from natural confidence. He stopped competing with colleagues and started collaborating from abundance. Within 6 months, he was promoted to vice president of his division. But more importantly, his new role gave him the financial freedom and flexible schedule to pursue music again. His band, which he had reformed with friends from college, was discovered by a record label executive who happened to attend one of their small venue performances. They signed a recording contract and now tour internationally while Robert continues to work remotely in his VP role. Type: both and. If you understand that effortless frequency often brings you abundance in multiple areas simultaneously. Robert's story illustrates something crucial about quantum consciousness. When you operate from effortless frequency, reality doesn't just give you what you think you want. It gives you everything that aligns with your highest potential. Robert thought he had to choose between financial security and creative fulfillment, but effortless frequency showed him a reality where he could have both without sacrificing either. This is what happens when you stop limiting yourself to either-or thinking and start accessing the quantum field where infinite combinations are possible. Here's what your life looks like when you fully integrate effortless frequency into your daily consciousness. You wake up naturally, without an alarm, feeling energized and excited about the day ahead. Not because you have to do anything, but because you're naturally aligned with activities that fulfill you. Your work doesn't feel like work because it's an expression of your natural talents and interests. Money flows to you through multiple sources, not because you're hustling, but because you're providing value from a place of joy and authenticity. Relationships become effortless. You attract people who appreciate your authentic self, rather than trying to earn love through performance. Conflicts resolve naturally because you're not operating from scarcity or competition. Your health improves without effort because you're no longer generating the stress hormones associated with struggle and worry. Your body naturally craves foods that nourish you and activities that energize you. Type: effortless life. If you can envision a reality where everything flows naturally and struggle becomes obsolete. Most importantly, you stop living in constant anxiety about the future because you trust your ability to navigate whatever comes with grace and creativity. You know that you're connected to an infinite source of intelligence, abundance, and love. This isn't fantasy. This is the natural state of consciousness when it's not constrained by limiting beliefs about effort and struggle. But here's what I need you to understand. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires consistent practice of the quantum shift protocol until effortless frequency becomes your new default state. Most people try it once or twice, don't see immediate dramatic results, and give up. They return to effort reality because it's familiar, even though it's making them miserable. The people who successfully transform their lives are those who commit to the practice for at least 30 days, regardless of initial results. They understand that they're literally rewiring decades of neural conditioning. Type: 30-day commitment if you're willing to practice the quantum shift protocol consistently for 1 month. Here's what I've observed after working with hundreds of people who have successfully accessed effortless frequency. The transformation happens in stages. Days 1 through 7. You might not notice much difference, but your brain waves are beginning to entrain to gamma coherence. Your neural networks are starting to form new pathways. Days 8 through 14. You begin to notice subtle shifts. Conversations flow more easily. Small opportunities appear. You feel more naturally confident and relaxed. Days 15 through 21. The shifts become more obvious. People respond to you differently. Unexpected income appears. Solutions to long-standing problems emerge naturally. Days 22 through 30. You realize you're living in a fundamentally different reality. What used to require effort now happens naturally. You're no longer trying to create success. You're allowing it to flow through you. After 30 days, effortless frequency becomes your new normal. You can't imagine going back to effort reality any more than you could imagine voluntarily walking into prison. Type, "I'm in," if you're ready to commit to 30 days of quantum consciousness practice. But I want to be honest with you about something. This journey isn't always easy, especially in the beginning. You're going to encounter resistance, not just from other people, but from your own conditioned mind. You've been programmed to believe that anything worthwhile requires struggle. When good things start happening effortlessly, part of you might feel guilty or suspicious. You might find yourself unconsciously sabotaging opportunities because they feel too easy. This is normal. Your neural networks have been conditioned to associate worth with effort. Learning to receive abundance gracefully is part of the transformation process. You might also encounter criticism from people who are invested in effort reality. They might accuse you of being lazy, unrealistic, or irresponsible. Remember, their resistance is about their own fears, not about your truth. Type, "I'm prepared for resistance." If you understand that transformation always involves moving through the discomfort of old patterns dissolving. Here's what I want you to do right now if you're ready to begin your quantum shift. First, make a clear decision. Are you committed to discovering what your life looks like when you stop struggling and start flowing? Are you willing to practice consistently for 30 days, regardless of what other people think? Second, set up your practice space. You need 12 minutes each morning in a quiet environment where you won't be disturbed. This isn't meditation. This is neural frequency training. Your brain needs consistency to form new neural pathways. Third, prepare for resistance. From your own mind, from people around you, and from circumstances that seem designed to pull you back into effort reality. This resistance is actually a sign that the transformation is working. Fourth, track your progress. Keep a simple journal of shifts you notice, internal changes in how you feel, external changes in how people respond to you, and synchronicities that begin appearing in your life. Type quantum journal. If you commit to documenting your transformation as you shift from effort reality to effortless frequency. Let me share one final story that shows you what's possible when you fully commit to this transformation. 6 months ago, I received a message from someone named David, who had been practicing the quantum shift protocol for 90 days. David had been an engineering manager, working 60-hour weeks, constantly stressed about deadlines and budgets. His marriage was suffering, his health was declining, and he felt trapped in a life that was draining his soul. After 90 days of consistent practice, David's entire reality had transformed. His company restructured, eliminating his stressful management role but offering him a senior technical position with the same salary and half the responsibility. This freed up time for him to pursue his passion for renewable energy technology. Within 6 months, he had developed a breakthrough solar panel design that attracted investment from 3 different venture capital firms. David is now the CEO of his own clean energy company, working with a team of people who share his vision, making a positive impact on the world while generating more income than he ever imagined possible. But the most remarkable part of David's story isn't his professional success. It's the quality of his daily experience. He describes waking up each morning with excitement about what the day might bring. He feels connected to something larger than himself, while being completely present to simple pleasures. Type David's reality. If you can envision a life where professional success and personal fulfillment flow together naturally, David's transformation shows what becomes possible when you stop trying to force reality to match your desires and start aligning your consciousness with reality, states where your desires are already fulfilled. This is the invitation I'm extending to you today. Not to work harder or try more techniques, but to discover the effortless frequency that's already available to you in every moment. Your brain is a quantum computer capable of accessing infinite reality states. Your consciousness is not separate from the field of infinite possibility. It's an integral part of it. You don't have to earn abundance, success, or fulfillment. You just have to stop blocking them with beliefs about effort and struggle. The establishment hates this message because it threatens their power. If you discover that you can create an extraordinary life effortlessly, you stop being dependent on their systems, their approval, and their definitions of success. But that's exactly why this message is so important. We're at a turning point in human evolution. More and more people are discovering that the old paradigm of struggle and competition is not only unnecessary, it's actually preventing us from accessing our full creative potential. Type human evolution. If you sense that learning to live effortlessly is part of humanity's next developmental stage, the quantum research is clear. Consciousness creates reality. Your beliefs about struggle and effort are literally collapsing probability waves that make your life more difficult than it needs to be. When you learn to access effortless frequency, you're not just transforming your own life. You're contributing to a collective shift in human consciousness. You're proving that another way is possible. Every person who discovers they can live abundantly without struggle gives permission for others to do the same. Your transformation becomes a beacon of possibility for everyone whose life you touch. This is bigger than personal success. This is about remembering what we're really capable of as conscious beings with unlimited creative potential. The choice is yours. You can continue believing that anything worthwhile requires struggle. You can keep trading your life energy for money and wondering why fulfillment feels so elusive. Or you can take the quantum shift and discover what your life looks like when you stop working against reality and start flowing with it. The effortless frequency is available to you right now, not as something you have to achieve, but as something you can tune into. Not as a reward for hard work, but as your natural birthright, as a conscious being. Type, I choose effortless, if you're ready to stop struggling and start flowing with the abundance that wants to express through you. Welcome to the quantum shift. Welcome to effortless frequency. Welcome to the reality where everything you desire is not something you have to earn, but something you allow. This is NeuroQuantum, where neuroscience meets consciousness transformation, and where you discover that the most profound changes in your life happen not through effort, but through effortless alignment with who you really are. The establishment may hate this message, but truth has a way of spreading regardless of resistance. And the truth is simple: you are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. Your quantum shift begins now.